Hello, hello, hello. I just want to get the crystal for tonight. How y'all doing? So good to be here with you. It is raining in my part of the world, so if you happen to be in a part of the world that it's also raining, please take care and drive safe. There's been some accidents today, which are not cool. So, yeah. Hello there. So come online, come and join. So some of you may have seen that I was online this afternoon, which was an impromptu reading. Gosh, my hair is doing its own set of unique things tonight. Must be the rain. You would have seen that I did a reading this afternoon. I was doing some karmic healing readings. So tonight I'm happy to continue with those when we get to the live readings. So if you didn't get a karmic healing reading this afternoon and you would like one tonight, you can ask for that. Otherwise, we'll do the general reading. But come online, welcome. It is April. So the first quarter of 2019 is done. Can you believe it? So Taryn, she is she's moving on, and that's really 2019 is this year of us really stepping into a readiness for next year, because next year is a big year. So this is a year about clearing, and April in itself is a month that's come forward as a month specifically creating a space for a lot of clearing. So that is why I was doing karmic healing readings this afternoon, is that what is the karma that needs to be healed at the moment? And karma is really about the repetitive patterns. Karma is not about events, it's about what's on repeat. What do we keep doing over and over and over again, that it's time to pay attention to a new way of doing things. I was doing a reading for a client today, and the message from her guys was so clear, is that they're completely fascinated how stubborn we are as a human race. That even though we know we can change, we don't. And this idea of our stubbornness is often linked to our karmic wounds. And we get quite attached to things and ideas and identities. And if we were able to flow, we'd flow easier. Yeah. So when I get to the free readings tonight, or the live readings, one-on-one readings, you can say if you would like to have it as a karmic healing reading or just a general reading, and I'm happy to do either, so we'll get there. If you want to go and listen to the readings I did this afternoon, there's some very powerful healing messages in there. So let's start off as always with the crystal for the week and start off there. Also, as just before I start, if you haven't already subscribed, I have a podcast. The podcast is called Pick 3 Cards, and every Tuesday I release a message about a card, one of the cards in my deck. The deck is coming out soon. It's going to be available at the end of July. And the intention is when you have your deck of cards, you'll be able to pick 3 cards and go and listen to. It's about a 5 or 6 minute information brief about the card, as well as an exercise on what to do. If you don't have the cards, you can also subscribe to the podcast. Every Tuesday there's new cards released, so there's a message, a healing message, and an exercise that can be done, and you can literally go through it and check with your intuition. So the way to subscribe to the podcast is in the links above, so please do that. The other thing I want to ask, and this is because my guides keep fucking me about this, is to please share this with your groups. So if you're part of a spiritual group and you think that this is a valuable way to get messages of healing and support out to the world, because we really are needing to access and get to as many people as possible, to get messages of healing and light and support to as many people as possible. So if you're part of a spiritual group and you feel so called to do so, then please would you share this. It really helps everyone, and we're here to connect across the globe at this point in time. So let's start with the crystal for this week. And the crystal for this week is one of my personal favorites, not a crystal to be used lightly, something to pay some serious attention to. And the crystal is danburite. Not a very well-known crystal. You can see this beautiful mandala. These come from the Lana Fairchild deck of crystal mandala cards, crystal oracle cards. And you'll see this very pure white energy. Now, danburite is one of the high ascension stones, as is phenacite. And the trick with danburite and phenacite is they look a lot like quartz. So this is danburite. When you feel it, you can feel a different energy, but if you just look at it, you could easily confuse it with a piece of clear quartz. This is quartz. Now, if I hold up the quartz and the dendrites, if you just look at it, you'll see that they look similar, but when you feel it, it's very different energy. The dendrites has got a lot more depth to it. Phenocite is another high ascension stone and crystal that's often confused with these. And the trick with this is to be just be aware when you're buying dendrite and phenocite to get it from a reputable dealer. There's many people selling quartz as dendrite and phenocite because it's a lot more expensive. So if you're ever unsure, just make sure you're getting it from a credible dealer, and you know it's somebody that does know that it is dendrite or phenocite. So dendrite's got almost like a slightly yellowish tinge to it. It's not pure white. And dendrite is a crystal that works with authenticity, the clarity of self, getting back to that innocent self, that wise self, that light version of yourself, and truly stepping into the essence of you. It is a crystal for essentiality. What is the essence, and how do we get clear? We need to understand clarity is something that is very difficult to see, because most of us see the world as we are, not what it is. And to have clear vision, clear sight, which is often what clairvoyance is referred to, is the ability to handle truth, handle honesty, and to clear away any blockages to seeing things clearly. That's right, Angela, I did buy you this for your birthday once, dendrite. Very high ascension crystal. Not one necessarily to wear all the time or to put under your pillow all the time, unless you are able to hold high frequency energies. So there's a lot coming forward with the karmic clearing that we're talking about, releasing our repetitive patterns, is about getting back to the essential self, getting back to the truth of who you are, the authentic version of you. So what needs to burn away? What truth do you need to hear? What do you need to face, and what do you need to own? What do you need to embrace for you to be the pure vessel of light that you are born to be? So those are big questions that are coming forward as the energy is shifting into April. In April, we've got a beautiful blue moon coming up. And that creates a sort of really magical portal of possibility. Right, so let us connect to the guides and get the message that is available for everybody who comes online tonight or anywhere during the week, or in fact at any point in the future if you happen to listen to this. Connect with the guides and pull forward messages. You can think of them as like umbrella messages, or messages of like a weather report, messages of like it's the universal energy messages that are available for all at this point in time. And so as always, we're going to do 3 cards. What do we need to pay attention to this week? So that's like the wake-up calls. What support is available for us this week, and what opportunities? Where do we need to, use what has been offered to us? So I was just thinking about this card just before I came online, so I love the way the divine works. So the card of what do we need to pay attention to this week? What is the call for wake up? And this card is happiness is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. This comes from the suit that's got the infinity symbol as the symbol for it, and this is the suit of accountability. This is the suit of taking ownership, about owning the part you play in your life. And so this pursuit of feeling better. And so when we're using happiness in this card, we're using it as a very loose term. Happiness is kind of like this energy of completeness, energy of feeling better, energy of feeling loved, feeling valued, all these sorts of things. And when we start to take accountability for our own happiness, that I'm not accountable for yours, I contribute to it. And I can contribute in magical and beautiful ways towards your happiness, but I can't be responsible for it. That is your job. Because even if I'm contributing towards your happiness, if you don't receive it, if you don't hold it, if you don't internalize it, there's not much I can do. Yeah? I mean, when somebody gives you a compliment, how often do you receive it? When somebody showers you with love, how many of us trust love and just receive it with an open heart? The ability to receive is your job. my offer to you of love, of happiness, of contributing to your world is mine. But in the same way as I need to ensure that I'm not making you responsible for me and for taking care of my happiness. If I'm in a relationship and I'm unhappy, it's not my partner's job to make me happy. It is my job to tell him or her what is going on for me and to ask for my needs to be met, to ask for what I want. And if they're able to do it within reason, then to expect them to do it. And if they say no, then for me to make choices as to what I want to do. But this is the heart of healthy relationships, of really stepping into the truth of what am I responsible for and what am I not responsible for, and what is someone else responsible for. And when we have a look at this card, the way the guys come forward is that it really is, it's quite a, it's really a soul-searching card, because it's asking us very deeply to notice what it is that we are needing in our lives. And this means we do need people, we do need love, we do need support, we do need care, we do need compassion, we do need tenderness. But can you ask for what you need, and can you receive it so that your happiness is internal? And if you don't get it from someone, can you take care of yourself? Yeah. So that we do not blame and project onto other people. Now, we all do. So when I say we don't, it's more about noticing where we are. That it's your fault. It's your fault that I'm feeling like this. Nobody can make you feel good or make you feel bad. Nobody can make you feel loved. Nobody can make you feel less lonely. Nobody can make you feel complete. Nobody can make you feel anything. But when you meet someone that does, then you need to understand that you've allowed it rather than they've done it. And so whether that person's there or not, they've introduced you to the experience of feeling that. And you have the ability to do that. And they've introduced you to a part of yourself that's able to receive and allow yourself to integrate that joy. Yeah. And this is the heart of healing, what we call codependency, where I'm dependent on you for my sense of self. And it could be dependent on a person, or it could be dependent on a work, or on a certain job, or an animal. Animals often teach us about dependency issues by going walkabout and teaching us that you're fine without me. So happiness is an inside job. This is a big card when we look at the Damberites, and we're looking at this essential self, this returning to the most expanded version of you. This is you becoming your own parent, you becoming your own healer, you becoming your own lover, you becoming your best self. And this does not mean not needing other people. This is actually, the paradox is you can only do that by learning how to need and receive from other people. So what support is available for us this week is to get intimate with our fear. So this comes from the suit of the dodecahedron, or the cube, which is all about you are safe. And so we need to understand that our sort of dependencies or need for others is often driven by our fear, particularly our fear of rejection, our fear of loneliness, our fear of not being good enough, fear of not being loved, all these sorts of things. And so there seems to be a relational element that's coming through the reading tonight when we look at what's available this week, is in the sort of karmic healing that's been introduced in April. A first starting point is to look at our relationships, how we relate between ourselves and others. It sets up the sort of a flow of energy between you and other people. The flow out of me and a flow from you to me, and how that flows can be stilted through fear. Yeah, we all know that we're not our best selves when we're fearful. I can speak very personally around this. I've gone through quite a lot of difficulty in this year, where as in my romantic relationship, suddenly a whole lot of fear was introduced into it. My own fears, nothing that was being done to me, my own fears, my own insecurities. And those fears got in the way of intimacy. They got in the way of me receiving. They got in the way of happiness. They got in the way of me hearing what I needed to hear. And so, the ability for fear to become a blockage is a very real thing. And so the more intimate we get with our fear, the more responsibility we take for healing our fears and insecurities, the more that we can return back to knowing that we are happy and that we are safe and that we are loved. And so fear is a very real energy in our lives, but it's not very real in data. So what I mean by that is that we can feel fear, and fear does not need to be overcome in the sense of not having it. But we do need to know that fear will fill us with a lot of information that may not be accurate because it gets distorted. Because through fear, through the lens of fear, we distort the experience. And so, like the idea of the sort of glasses that we're putting on, the glasses that we're looking at life through, is when we're looking at life through those fear glasses, we can really create some amazing stories for ourselves. But when we can notice this is fear, the story is distorted. What is underneath the fear? And then I can connect to my faith. And so fear teaches us to find faith. It teaches us to find a connection back to truth. And so it is a profound teacher. It gives us profound opportunity. And so there's support available this week by noticing and getting intimate with the fears that exist within us. And so what card then comes forward as the opportunity for this week? Honestly, can't make this up. This comes from the Love Suit, and it's a card called Assert Your Boundaries. Now, when we have a look at these, happiness is an inside job, and we look at the story that's come up, particularly about relationships, get intimate with your fear, and happiness is an inside job, we have a look at, if I'm going to love, if I'm going to open my heart to love, if I'm going to let people into my life, I need to be able to trust myself with boundaries. That means if I feel uncomfortable with something, I can voice it. If I need something, I can voice it. Can you ask for what you need? Always ask for what you need and what you want, and be okay if you don't get it. And so the ability to learn to do that is really about embracing the responsibility of your own life and your own happiness, and taking accountability for that. Boundaries is always, and some of you that have been on my readings before will have heard me talk about this, but it's worth talking about it again. Boundaries are about self-action. A boundary is about, if I'm uncomfortable, I will walk away. If I don't like this, I will not participate in it. It's an instruction to myself for an action. Boundaries are not instructions to other people for action. Those are rules. And rules are me trying to control others. Now, I can ask someone else to do or not do something. But the boundary is, if they do or don't do it, I then choose what I want to do about it. Not the manipulation and the domination and the sort of threats that if you don't, then I will. Then these become sort of controlling aspects of others. And this is very confused in relationships. We think that we can control other people's behaviors so that we're happy, so that we are okay. And it's far more important to ask for what we need. And if we don't get it, know what our next choice is. And know that it's our choice to make. Yeah? It's your choice to make. You can see this in so many dynamics as people feel very stuck in relationships because they keep demanding the other person to be different, and the person promises but doesn't change. And so then the manipulation, the passive-aggressive sulking, all these things become things. Boundaries are self-care tools. They're tools of saying, if I feel uncomfortable, if I'm feeling unhappy, then I know what I need to do for me to be okay. And so I am responsible for myself, and therefore I'm responsible for my happiness. So where do you need to assert your boundaries and make sure that you are caring for yourself? Right, so how cool is that? Yeah, really, really beautiful message. I'm so glad, Mark. Okay, so if you're first time online, welcome. It's really lovely to be with you here. My name is Taryn, if you haven't got that as yet. And so we are now going to go into doing the one-on-one readings. So the way that works is if you want a reading, you can ask for it. As I said earlier, I was online this afternoon doing some karmic healing readings. I'm happy to continue with those. So if you're wanting a karmic release healing reading, then you can ask for a karmic reading. If you want just a general reading or something specific, you can ask for that. The way it works is I get drawn intuitively to who I'm going to do a reading for. The way that I'm drawn to them is really my guides point out names, and that often gives a message of healing to the broader group as well. So if you don't get chosen, please know it's not that you're not loved, it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's more that there may well be a reading, or there may be something in the general reading for you to hear already, so pay attention to that. I don't scroll up, so please just make sure you keep asking, because I will just see who comes up as we go along, and I'll really try and get through as many readings as possible. But listen to other people's readings. I promise you there's often profound messages of healing and love and support in other people's messages as well. Right, so let us start here. Melissa Johnson. First time, Taryn, please do a reading for me. With pleasure. I am going to try and do as many karmic healings as well, so just keep asking. Let me just check with you. Melissa, are you wanting a karmic reading or a general reading? Let's see if you answer, otherwise we'll see what the guides come up with. Okay, Melissa. Okay. All right, Melissa, it's the karmic healing that they're saying they're doing for you. So just for everybody that's online, and you can go and connect to my podcast, and I promise you there's amazingly beautiful readings on there. You can go and listen to them often as you want to. When I'm talking about karma, I really want to make sure that we're all on the same page about understanding what karma is. And I apologize if you've heard this before, but it's a really important principle. Karma is not a new age heaven and hell. There is no divine being that's rewarding and punishing anybody. There is the principle of do good and good happens to you, and do bad and bad happens to you, and what goes around comes around is not what karma is. I mean, there is the law of attraction, and the frequency you vibrate at has got a magnetic approach to what you bring back. But karma is something different. Karma is about a balancing act. Karma is about creating new opportunities and new possibilities. So when we live on earth and we get this polarity, this black and white thinking, there's right and there's wrong, whenever we're stuck on either side of these things, then we get attached to one side being right and the other side being wrong. And that in itself holds us in a polarity. That is a karmic wound, a karmic trigger, a karmic opportunity. Because the opportunity of karma is to embrace the other side as equal and valuable, and to see the alchemy of what new possibilities come when both are contributing. So the example I gave earlier, and I'll give this one again because it's the most simplest one, is if I've had many lifetimes where I have thought being a male is more valuable than being a female, then I'm going to come to earth as a female, and I'm going to have to learn to see the value of female, not as better or as worse, as stronger or weaker than male. That both are valuable. And when I notice that both are valuable, then suddenly I have no trigger to which one's better and which one's worse. And so anything where you're triggered, something is right and something is wrong, that is a karmic healing opportunity. Right, so I'll get off my little hobby horse of explaining what karma is so that we can do some karmic healing. So Melissa, the card that comes forward for you, and it is a karmic healing message for you, is connect back to source. Connect back to source. So there's some very, very ancient wounds for you around resisting divinity, resisting God, resisting religion, resisting spirituality, whatever your hurt is there, and you can notice what it is that you do not want to participate in. There is a past lifetime where you have a very strong affiliation with the cult, and that cult mindset really was quite toxic. And religion, particularly, or spirituality, was used as the leverage point for fear there. And this in itself brings you forward into this lifetime and keeps you separate from your own spirituality because of the fear of getting entrenched into that sort of mindset again. So the karmic healing for you here is to notice that source is not outside of you, source is inside of you. Whatever you want to think of source as, God, divinity, the universe, the divine, your higher self, spirit, Allah, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It's connecting with an essence. And when we talk about connecting back to source, the way your guides want to talk about it is, what are you plugging into? What do you plug into to get a sense of energetic life force? Like a plug, we plug an appliance into a wall and we switch it on and it gets a surge of energy. We need to notice, what do you plug into? You're a profound you have a profound spiritual energy to you. Whether you want to use that for healing in this lifetime is up to you as a healer. But you'll need to keep yourself separate from your own divinity. And this is making up your own decisions, your own truth around what spirituality, religion, life force, God, divinity is for you, is to come up with your own story and not get seduced by other people's stories about it. That whatever it is for you, and that could be a tree, if that's where you feel the most awakened, the most alive, then you can plug into that, whatever it is that brings you to return back to a wholeness. And so, Melanie, sorry, Melissa, that's the message that's coming forward. There is the sort of karmic prescription of prayer and reacquainting yourself with prayer and meditation. Prayer is a conversation to the divine, and meditation is the ability to receive messages from the divine. And like all good relationships, there needs to be a flow of information. So they're saying that is what is valuable for you tonight. Right, so I hope that makes sense for you. Let us see who is next. Tennille DV. Right, so just keep asking and I will get to as many people as possible. Let's see. Tennille. All right, so you're asking for karmic. So let's see what karmic healing comes up for you. All right. Tennille, the cards come forward for you to speak your truth. And this is from the suit of, it's the Vesca-Pisces is the sacred geometry symbol for this. And Vesca-Pisces is where there's a portal. And the way your guides are coming forward is that, I mean, even as I connect with your energy, there's like a constriction that happens for me around my throat. And this comes from past life wounds of being tortured or ridiculed for expression of it's using your voice. There's a lifetime for you where you were a singer. You were in a choir and you had the most angelic voice. You were able to move people with your voice, and we need to understand that this is a great gift. We all know what it's like when somebody sings and it moves the spirit in you. It moves energy in you. It can move you to tears. It can move you to joy. It can move you to peace. And so when we access that voice in ourselves and we use it for that good, I mean, it could be through chanting, it could be through sound, it could be through singing, it could be through speaking. It moves people. And this lifetime where you were in this choir, there was a profound amount of jealousy of you. And that jealousy really translated into you feeling quite isolated from other people. Now, the jealousy was of your voice and the jealousy was of your ability to move people. But what we need to understand is your isolation and your loneliness had more to do with your inability to connect with people around you. Is that you tended to isolate yourself. And so you came to the conclusion that because of your voice and because of others being jealous, you were lonely. But this is not the correct conclusion. You were lonely because of your inability to connect. Jealousy was just part of the dynamic, because whenever somebody's good at something, somebody's jealous. It's just human behavior. It's normal. Jealousy is just a normal thing. And so we don't need to make the one equal the other. And so in that past life, you vowed that you would, in the attempt to be accepted and embraced by others and to have a sense of community and belonging, that you would suppress your gifts. And so your gift in this lifetime may not be about singing. There's certainly a connection with your voice, but the healing comes in embracing your gifts and not suppressing them, so that you are, in a sense, you are belonging to others. It's learning to stand out and to be noticed and to really, really be admired for your brilliance, and not to downplay any of that. That is where there's an opportunity for healing for you in this lifetime. So I hope that makes sense for you, Tennille. Your guides keep showing me to kind of put your hand on your throat and just, even if you want to hum, start connecting in with that. So I'm not sure if you like singing or not, if that's even part of that, but it certainly is about healing that. All right, so let us see who is next. Christina, please may I have a karmic reading. Okay, Christina, let's see what your guides want to tell you tonight. Right, are you enjoying the karmic healing messages? They are a little bit more intense, they're a little bit different. You need to remember that karma is not about an event, it's about patterns. So we're looking for patterns that exist across this lifetime and other lifetimes as well. Pleasure, Tennille. All right, Christina. Your dreams are calling you forward. Your dreams are calling you forward. So if I had to say the following words to you: desire, want, demanding, like a wantonness, sort of like a sort of real sort of almost a seductive kind of energy of being seduced into, what do you want? To playfully engage with it, to notice that there's a desire in you. There's a desire for more, not a desperateness, not a I have to, not a shame because you think you shouldn't want. It's, you know, when you desire something, you're like, oh, I want it. Just because I want it, I can ask for it. It doesn't have to be a good reason. It doesn't have to be any permission. It's just desire. Yeah, and to access this energy of desire is something that's really, really difficult for you. It's difficult for you to embrace this, this sort of like, I want to make me a cup of coffee. I can make my own coffee, but I'd love it if you made me a cup of coffee. And even as they embrace it, as they channel through me, you can hear there's like this really, really seductive kind of energy in this. And the seduction is the magnetism. Yeah, it's the, I don't have to demand, I don't have to ask, I don't have to like manipulate, I don't have to do any of these things, I don't have to work for it. I just can ask because I want it. And if I don't get it, that's fine. Like, you know, life will go on. But what do you want? And your guides are sitting and saying there's a resistance to desire. And so when we look at a resistance to desire, if desire goes out of my life, it gets replaced with something else. And the something else is struggle. I need to prove it. I need to show that I can do it. I need to, like, nothing comes from nothing. I mean, you must work hard for what you've got. And you can look at your own triggers of people that just have it too easy, that just they want to get, and it irritates you. And so the karmic healing is in allowing yourself to desire. That it's not dangerous, it's not hurtful, it's not shameful. You can have what you want. So they kind of sit and they say to you, what do you desire? Sit with that word desire, the energy of desire, the wantedness of desire, and to notice what's your blockage about desire. That is where the healing opportunities lie. All right, okay, so let us see some beautiful readings coming forward there. So, all right, let's see. All right, Mark, let's do a general reading for you. You've asked a few times, and I get lots of beautiful hearts. I love hearts, especially purple hearts. Aha, I don't desire because then I'm not disappointed. Well, you're still disappointed. It's not working. It's not working. So maybe desiring again will mean that you might be pleasantly surprised. Yeah? So have a look at that and give me a shout if you need to. Okay, perfect. Let us see here. Oh, I'm so glad, Ange. All right, Mark, a general reading, please. Let's see what your guides want to tell you tonight. Okay, Mark. Release the shame. Release the shame. Okay, so sorry, I'll just connect again because there seems to be some physical discomfort going on for you. I'm not sure if you are having any physical health challenges at the moment. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I saw somebody put a funny post of a dog. Mark, are you having any physical challenges at the moment? Can you just let me know? You can just say yes or no. If there's anything going on from a health perspective for you. So if you're still online, if you could let me know. I just want to check in because they keep showing me sort of discomfort in the body. Okay, so, all right, let's see. I'm not seeing a message from you, but I assume you're still there. It feels like you're still online. It's just a no. Okay, all right, okay. All right, well, then it's more of an energetic thing that's coming forward. Okay, so the way your guides come forward, and I do say guides because your male and your female guide come forward together. And so it's almost quite hard for me to tell them apart. They're quite intertwined, your male and female guides. So this when they come forward, they're sort of like if you think of like almost Siamese twins or twins that are joined, that's the way your male and female guide come forward. It's very sort of joined together. And the benefit of this is there's a lot of intertwinedness that happens for you in terms of the masculine and feminine. The difficulty with this is there's a lot of intertwinedness that happens for you in the masculine and feminine. Imagine sort of like, sort of they're intertwined like two root systems getting meshing into each other. If we ever try and undo them or pull them apart, it's very hard to know which one belongs to which. And so we can this can be very good from a unity perspective, but it can also be quite difficult from a release perspective, particularly if we've intertwined with something that is not good for us. So you easily become attached, they're saying. You easily get intertwined and attached to people and things around you. And when sometimes it doesn't work out for you, it's very hard, they're saying, for you to disconnect from things. It's almost like you get so intertwined, you get hooked in and locked into certain things. Now, the reason I bring this up is not that there's anything right or wrong or good or bad around this. This is just the awareness of when you choose to intertwine with someone or something, is to notice this about yourself and to have the level of discernment of not doing that too quickly, because it can be suffocating to yourself and to others, particularly if it's in a relationship context. And so, Mark, the sort of thing that they're bringing up is the level for you to be committed, but committed in a relational context. Committed to, it could be a work relationship, it could be an intimate relationship, it could be a friendship. Is how do you commit to someone but not have to get attached into it, so that you can remain fluid and you can still remain aware of your impact into a relationship and not get a little lost sometimes in this. And the release the shame card comes in around, noticing the, how do I put this in a way that's, noticing that the pattern of behavior for this is that the reason this exists, it purely comes from a very, very, very strong need for belonging. A very, very powerful need for belonging. And that comes from a feeling of, or a fear of isolation as a child. And so fearing isolation, fearing being left out, fearing being left alone, means that you intertwine yourself in so much. And the shame is about, sort of the compassion, the forgiveness for a little boy that came up with that's the way to make people love you, is to get intertwined in their life, and then they're so intertwined with you, they need you, but that in itself may not always be valuable for you. And so it's about compassion. It's about a sense of compassion for yourself, they're saying, creating a perspective of kindness for yourself, of noticing what it is that you need that can keep you more able to commit and connect, but not become intertwined, because that intertwining is not always serving you. So I hope that makes sense for you. There seems to be quite a lot of depth they want to go to, but then they keep blocking it because they're saying it's not appropriate for online. So if there's more that you need, please feel free to set up a session. So I do sessions. Imagine an hour of your guides coming forward and giving you beautiful messages of healing and love and support. So if you're wanting your own message, just send me a message and we will get to you. Right. Who is next? Chantal Singh. Chantal Singh. Let us see what your guides want to tell you tonight. Like I said, I get drawn to the names of people that are going to give readings, generalized readings to the greater group. So just keep asking. Just keep asking. Mandy, I'm busy doing the reading for you. Oh, look at that. There we go. So if you weren't here at the beginning of the session, you can go back and have a look and listen to Happiness is an Inside Job. But the thing that's coming forward for you is quite specific. So let me just connect in and see where they're wanting to go with this. You guys are quite funny. They're bringing forward, I once ran a corporate team building workshop. It's a few years ago, but for some reason they're bringing this up. And one of the tasks that I gave the team as a whole, it was a team that hadn't worked together very long, is I gave everybody a coloring in picture. And what needed to happen, there was a coloring in picture, I think it was of a parrot, a very simple picture, like a childlike coloring in page. And I put them in groups of 3 and they needed to color in the parrot. And obviously there's the assumption of competition. And I gave them certain colors they could use. And each person had their own color. So that's the only color you can use. But now I need to contribute my color to this picture in a way that is going to not necessarily take up the most space. It's going to make a beautiful picture. And so the sort of awareness of how much do I put on the page and how much do I want to just make sure I'm coloring everywhere? Do I want to just put a little? So how much of my color do I want to contribute to this picture? And what became very interesting is halfway through, they had to switch teams. And now we had different colors coming in. And they had to switch mid-stroke. So they could be in the middle of something and then change teams and take their color with them. And now there's a little bit of trickiness. Like now it's all got messed up. So now how do I contribute here? And so the reason the guides are bringing forward this is the message, the metaphor, is they're saying, you know, taking accountability for the way you are coloring in the storyboard of your life is yours to own. Is you have a very unique blueprint and a very unique color, a very unique way of contributing to the world, and knowing how much of that you want to put on the page, for example, and when is there a need to hold back and to do these sorts of things. This becomes a really interesting conversation because other people may want you to do things differently to how you want to do it. Other people may be sitting here and saying, oh, well, you should be doing this, or you must do it like that, or if you did it like this, you would make more money, or if you did that, you would be better, or why aren't you doing it like that person, and that sort of thing. But every time you do that, it's like your crayon just disappears, and you've given away, and other people's crayons are now in the middle of yours, half stroke, and you're not getting to draw what it is that you wanted to draw. So it's kind of like taking accountability for what are you wanting to create, and there seems to be a tendency for you to pay a lot of attention to other people's voices in your life of how you should be using the crayon of you, how you should be coloring in your life. And rather taking accountability for yourself and saying, okay, this is how I want to contribute to the world. This is what I want to do. And you're beautiful. You're an amazing soul. It's time for you to shine that light wherever you can go. So I hope that metaphor makes sense for you, Mandy. They seem to be quite interested in using these metaphors tonight. Okay, let us see who is next. Yvonne. Yvonne, I want to just make sure. I just want to answer Heather Lyon's question, please. She says a reading, please. I'll come back to a reading if it comes up. I just want to answer. I see 11 several times a day. Why is this? You need to understand the divine works in trying to keep us awake. Because most of our time we spend falling asleep. You know, what I mean by asleep is being unconscious, just being in the ego, just doing things on autopilot, just doing what we've always done. And so the divine is, they cannot interfere with free will, but they're certainly trying very hard to get our attention. And so the synchronicity, the numbers, the music, the animals, all these sorts of things are not things that have always specific messages. You can look online, and there's a woman who's got a great website called Sacred, what's her name? I'll find a link for you. There's a woman, you can just look up the meaning of spiritual numbers, and there's a woman, Sacred Scribes, and she's got a beautiful website with meanings for all the numbers. But when I connect in with spirit, they say it's not about what the numbers mean. It means about when you notice, you wake up. And when you wake up, you're more present. And when you're more present, you're in your body. And when you're in your body, you can make better choices. And when you're making better choices, you can get more conscious. And this is how we raise consciousness. And so noticing things like numbers and that sort of thing are really about calls to consciousness. Stay awake. Stay awake is what they most want to tell us at this point in time. All right, Mandy, have a think about it, and if we need to chat a bit more, we can talk about it. It's more about how you are contributing using your gifts to the world and not paying attention to what other people think you should be doing, really listening to what it is you want to do. All right, so let us see, Yvonne. Please, may I have a karmic healing message? Yes, you may. Okay, Yvonne, the message is coming forward for you as approach with lightness. Oh, good, Shaz, I'm glad that it makes sense to you. Okay, Yvonne, the way not sure if you would think of yourself as a very serious person, or needing to be very serious or very thoughtful, very deliberate. Things must be done properly. That's the sort of energy they come forward with. And the way your guy comes forward is he comes forward as a comedian. He's like, it's all just a big joke. And he's just laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And it really is this lightening up kind of energy that he brings forward, is that we can do very, very serious stuff in a very, very light way, in a very playful way. And so this is about embracing more humor, embracing more fun, embracing more, frivolousness in your life, doing things just because it's fun and not because it has to have some deep, meaningful purpose. Really allowing yourself to explore life through the lens of it is a serious place to be, but it can be done with a lot of lightheartedness and playfulness and exploratoriness. And so the karma for the healing is to integrate seriousness and playfulness. And to know that when we can collapse this polarity of being serious or being playful, being serious is often like professional, smart, whereas being playful could be like immature. The serious can also be responsible and irresponsible. That these things need, that's the yin and yang of it, is that, being too serious can sometimes mean people are threatened by the way things are, and may even resist some things. Being too lighthearted may mean that people don't take you seriously. But when you can get the perfect blend of this, we can get teaching happens through humor. And you have a teaching energy about you. But if you can be lighter about the way you teach, people will embrace it in an easier way, they say. So the karma is about healing these kinds of polarities and noticing, how do we bring them together? How does it work? And the big question they're saying you can ask is, how do I lighten? How do I do this less seriously? Have a laugh. Have a laugh. Have some fun. Just have some fun. All right, so I hope that makes sense for you. All right, let's see who is next. Sharita. Sharita Singh, let us see what your guides would like to tell you tonight, Sharita. All right. It's so funny. The guides really do. They often say that we are far too serious. Yeah, far too serious. And realize that when we're lighter, we're in a different frequency. We're in the frequency of playfulness, and the law of abundance works with playfulness. All right, Sharita, let us see what your guides want to say to you tonight. So the card that's come forward is, let your heart overflow with kindness. Let your heart overflow with kindness. Okay, so sorry, I'm trying to see what they're wanting to say, because your guides are singing at me, and so I'll keep going like, it's not helping me, but they keep singing. And they're singing like these they're singing like gospel songs. I'm trying to see what it is with that it's about. But they really are, everything they're trying to say to me, they're saying like this sing-song voice, and they really are just like, I'm not a singer, so I'm really not going to sing on Facebook Live, even though they're wanting me to. But it's like, it's like these light children's playful sort of songs. They're not quite nursery rhymes, but there's this definite sing-songy, rhymey kind of element to the songs that they're bringing forward. And you know, for some reason, when they bring forward this energy, they show me you sort of just sort of like, you know, dancing to it and floating around and just loving the experience of the music. And somehow this reminds you of something. So they keep bringing you back to the memory. They want you to remember what it's like to move to the music, to have your body just respond to the music, to just be in the rhythm of life. And when you're in this rhythm, when you're responding to the music, your body moves and your heart opens and life flows. And when you are there, you're in a very gentle place, you're in a very gentle energy. And that is the energy that they associate with kindness. It's gentle. It's flowy, it's moving, it's not being blocked in any way, shape, or form. And the reason they bring this up in this way is that you have a profoundly kind heart. You value kindness in many ways, but you're not treating yourself very kindly. And so your own heart deserves the same amount of kindness that you want to offer others. And when we don't, then we tend to get into the blocked sort of kindness. Now it becomes stilted. It becomes something we're doing because we need to, or we should, and so on and so forth. So the whole sort of message, and there is a karmic healing in this for you, but it's what does kindness to yourself look like? What does kindness to yourself sound like? What does kindness to yourself feel like? And knowing that there's that flowy, gentle, relaxed energy, when you can feel that for yourself, then you know that you've engaged with that energy of kindness. And then it will overflow into the world. And it'll overflow from a natural place of abundance rather than the place of, wanting to do it because it's the right thing to do. It'll come from the place of just naturally, that's what happens. So there's this flowing with life, this gentle softness, this kindness to yourself, to yourself, to yourself. Right, let us see what else is going on here. Who is still here and asking? Melanie Boardman, a reading would be amazing. Please, right, so let us see what your guys would like to tell you. All right, so, I'm glad, Taryn. All right, so this was one of the cards from the beginning of the reading, so you can go back and listen to the beginning of the reading as well, to the weekly message, and you can get some information, get intimate with your fear. For you, Melanie, your male guide comes forward, and he's kind of like he brings forward an energy of disapproval. And what I mean by that is that he says to me that there's this fear of being disapproved of. And there's many ways to think about this. It could be the fear of being laughed at, the fear of not being liked, the fear of doing things wrong, the fear of, but the best way that he describes it is disapproval. When somebody disapproves of you, it's almost a rejection on some level. There's something that happens around disapproval that is needing some healing. He's very funny in the way that he comes forward, because he says the thing that we miss, or that is missed more specifically, is that nobody's approving. You know, the reality is, each of us live so much in our own sort of bubble of fear that we ultimately very, very seldom are approving of others. What he means by this is that, you know, we walk around thinking we approve someone else, but we can't. Approval and rejection, or approval and disapproval, if I had to use those energies, and it's interesting the way he's bringing it forward, so let's just see where he takes it, is approval and disapproval. If we had to look at these as energies, and we had to put a continuum together, and we said, okay, somebody approves of something on this side or disapproves of something on that side. Yeah. If somebody says to me they approve of my work or they disapprove of my work, so what? So what? They are hollow energies. They are energies that have no real impetus and no real meaning until or unless I make, and unless when they approve or disapprove, they're triggering my own approval or disapproval of who I am. So if somebody says to me, I disapprove of your work, and I disapprove of my work in a way, then now this has become something that's now triggered a feeling of rejection or woundedness in me. And so when I say approval and disapproval are hollow energies, they're hollow unless they are giving us clues to something that is going on inside of me. So in my relationship, there is a lot of judgment of the relationship I'm in. I'm not going to talk about why tonight necessarily, but the interesting part for me is that there are many aspects of my relationship I really don't care about the judgment or non-judgment of it. But there are some aspects that I do, and that's because I'm not clear where I stand on it, or hadn't got clear. I think I'm much clearer now. And so the way they're coming forward for you in this reading is a lot to do with your fear of disapproval, is to notice more, what are you disapproving on in yourself? And if you're disapproving of something in yourself, how do you come to a place of choice about that, so that you're not living in any internal judgment and internal shame of the choices that you're making? And so that when somebody else is disapproving of you, it's not going to trigger anything for you. When I started doing this work, and some of you don't know my story, but I was head of finance for a merchant bank for many years, and then I left and started my own coaching company, and then through a series of life events reconnected back with my gifts and started doing this work. But in order to get brave enough to step into doing this work, at that point it wasn't full-time, now it is, I had to give myself every label I was fearful of other people calling me. Woo-woo, out of the fairies, you know, Satan's keeper, the witch, you know, crazy, I don't know. And what started happening is I started calling myself all these things. I'm woo-woo, I'm weird, I'm out of the fairies, I'm crazy, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And all these things, so that I could desensitize myself to any judgment I would get from anywhere else. And so this is the fear element that's coming forward for you, Melanie, is to take the thing that you fear and to notice what is it, and desensitize yourself, because the gift is in the disapproval, the gift is in the judgment of it. And this could be around any aspect of what's going on for you. So I hope that that makes sense for you, and gives you a point of reference. Right, so that brings us to the end of tonight. I'm sorry if I haven't got to you, but it does not matter. You have plenty of chances for readings, and I will be online next Monday again. If you are wanting, please subscribe to my podcast so that you can go and get some weekly messages, and you can get messages continuously. You can pick a card every day and work with that message. Start noticing what comes up repetitively. If you love the cards, they're coming out, so please, there are a certain number that are available for pre-order, and that you get at a very special rate, and you get access to my online revolution course, which is about a course for raising your vibrations. So all the details are there for you to connect and to subscribe to those. Otherwise, I hope to see you on one of my courses, or, you know, coming for a reading, or I'll just see you online. If you enjoy these, please feel free to do a review on the page and invite your friends. I'm hoping, I think we're at about nearly 9,000 people that follow this page, which is overwhelmingly amazing to me. But when we get to 10,000, you get a special status on Facebook and we can do a lot more cool stuff. So I'm on a little bit of a drive to get us to 10,000 followers so we can do some more cool stuff on Facebook. So if you have friends that you think would like this page, if you could like it yourself, then that would be amazing, because we can really build this up to a beautiful community, or even more beautiful than it is. Sending you lots of love. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being in my life. I enjoy you all very much. Sending you lots of love. Namaste.